Welcome to the Kackbrat Chronicles.
Hi Phil,
see
how are you doing,
what's
buddy?
happening. Good, Jim. I've actually realised today that you are the first repeat offender on here.
Oh wow,
I've not had someone on here twice.
thank you.
So you are the first, like I said, the first repeat offender. Cheers, buddy. Like a non-alcoholic beer. Doesn't taste too shit.
It doesn't taste shit at all. It doesn't necessarily taste like beer though.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
really weak beer.
Yes, because we actually had this conversation, me and Alison, a while ago. Because in South Africa, we've got a drink called Savannah, which is basically it's a cider, I think. And they brought out a zero. They brought out a non-alcoholic one, and Alison was drinking that, or she had that once when she was pregnant.
Yeah,
And there was also, I think it was a bit more than 0.5. What did you say? 0.05. And we worked out that if you had, I think it was 4 or 6 of those, you'd have the same amount of alcohol as if you had one normal one.
right.
Because, I mean, this is also if you have...
Well, so she drank 25 of them.
No. Well, I mean, if you have 6 of these, then you're on 3% alcohol.
I think you would burn the alcohol calories off drinking 6 in the time.
Probably.
You took to actually drink them.
But this doesn't really taste like beer. But it's
I
not
think,
bad.
don't they brew it as normal beer and remove the alcohol?
I've got no idea how they make
I
this.
think so, yeah. So it's still got like the hoppy flavour. So that would probably stand to reason why it's still got a little bit left in it. But thank you, yeah. First non-alcoholic beer that I've had in probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I also can't remember the last non-alcoholic drink I've had.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, this is just a bit of a catch-up.
Yeah. We're not turning it into a therapy session, and if I'm going down that route, please stop me. But it's hard not to, because it's been quite a change to the daily routine. How are you finding it?
It's not been difficult. There's been a few, like when weekend comes by, I think fuck, I'd really like a whiskey now. And I think I'm so used to when weekend comes, when a Friday comes, I come in here and I sit, have a few drinks, find a few friends. So I think that my social side has definitely been dampened.
Definitely, yeah.
Just because I don't want to come out. Yeah, this is the first time I've been in the Billy Room since the end of last month when we did the last podcast.
Okay.
Just because I don't feel like coming here and sitting here and not having a drink.
Yeah. But you say you're not finding it hard. You're not struggling at all.
I'm not really struggling, no. Like I told you, I can either go to sleep or just play PlayStation or watch a movie or something.
Well, I found the first week fairly easy, but more because of the novelty of it than anything. You think, yeah, this is all right. Second week, pretty much the same. I did notice that the lack of weed was having a much bigger effect on my body than the lack of alcohol. Crazy dreams, still crazier than they are at base level, but they've gone down a little bit since then. So I was enjoying that whole crazy dream episode for the second week. And then this last week, I've struggled. Like you, I find I don't ring people. I've not put a post on Facebook. I've not sent any WhatsApp messages. I've just sort of been in my own little world and sleeping a lot. The first few weeks was busy, did a lot of cooking, had some chores to do around the house and stuff. And then last week, as it started to get dark a bit earlier, I found myself just thinking, well, there's nothing to do. I'll watch a video. And then 10 minutes into the video, I'm asleep on the sofa. And at one point, that was 7:30 in the evening.
Oh, we both were sick as well. We've been sick a few times, and I've put a bit of thought into it. If it's sort of, I was wondering if it's because we weren't drinking, because I've always found that whenever I try and quit smoking, within a fucking 2 days I get sick.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if it's the same, but I don't think it is, because we 90% of the times we get sick, it's because Luke brings something from school. It's me, Alison, and Luke. We've all three of us, we've been sick this month. So I don't think it's the lack of alcohol.
No, it's probably more likely coincidence. But your body's really adjusting to a new regime, albeit a healthier one. I don't know. I feel the same as you. Every time I stop smoking, I tend to get. But it tends to be more throat infections and stuff. You feel like this time it was just what was going round, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was just, and it's also, I mean, we in winter now. It is moving. Well, not in winter, but we are definitely moving on to winter. It's colder.
Yeah.
So it might just be that. But I think because of that, it's also been easy not drinking, because I come home, I feel shit, I get in bed and I just sleep.
To be honest, most years this time, when it comes round, when the days are getting shorter at the fastest, past sort of end of September, me and my whole family get this, where we just feel a bit sad, a bit down, like you want to sleep a little bit more. I think it's just adjusting to the season.
Yeah.
Because there were sad seasonal affective disorder or something, and I'm not saying I've got a disorder or anything, but I think you get a mild case of it I certainly seem to get a mild case of it every year, just as the seasons come round. But yeah, go on then, buddy.
But they do reckon that that's why the British people are so sort of not as happy as the rest of the world, is because it's shitty weather year round. Yeah, you have like maybe a month or two of proper weather during the year, and then you move on to rain and gloominess.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So it might be something to do with it. I actually did a bit of reading today, because we had a chat on sort of our sleep patterns that have changed a bit. Because I struggled in the first week or so, especially that first weekend. I couldn't go to sleep. I was in bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just couldn't go to sleep. And I read up now that your liver has got, so we've got, I think you call it a circadian rhythm, which is a daily thing, and stuff like artificial light from a cell phone or a laptop, stuff like that can affect your sleep pattern.
Yeah.
But alcohol plays a role in there as well, because your liver's got its own rhythm. So as soon as when it gets used to you drinking, let's say 2 drinks a day, or drinking a bit more over weekends, it gets used to that rhythm. So your metabolism changes on let's say, for argument's sake, I'm used to drinking a lot on Fridays and Saturdays. So my metabolism changes on a Friday and a Saturday. And now, because my metabolism changes, but it doesn't have any alcohol to metabolize, I can't fucking get to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it changes that as well. And another interesting thing I found was, I actually just read that quickly, was that more than 2 drinks can decrease your quality of sleep by up almost 40%, 39.2% decrease in quality of sleep from just 2 drinks.
Really?
And that is fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, we don't have the Whoop straps or apps and stuff to really test that. I think you can get maybe a bit too soaked into it anyway, but it'd be interesting to know. What you'd have to do is do it for a month or 2 under normal circumstances to get your sort of base rate.
Yeah.
And then see what the change would be afterwards. But I didn't find sleeping a struggle at all. It was just a crazy dream when I was asleep. Yeah.
But I think there is that. I don't know if you listened to the same thing. There was a chat on Rogan's podcast but it wasn't like in the last month or so. It was a year or two back, maybe, where regular alcohol use and weed it decreases your, dopamine or something.
Yeah.
And then when you stop, there's an influx of dopamine in your system. I might be getting this wrong, I probably am. But that's why you dream so much when you stop with weed. And I think it might be the same with alcohol. I might be 100% wrong, I probably am. But there is some other flush in your system trying to correct the levels, and that's why you have so much of that. We call it dopamine. I'm not sure if it is.
It's something I think it's something about the different sleep patterns, that REM sleep that you have, that dreaming bit. Obviously must be suppressed by weed, or something else is going on that it sort of erases any memories. But for years now, I've woken up and not remembered any dreams. It's like switching off the light and then switching it back on again. But these dreams have been so vivid and so relevant. And a couple of times, not necessarily every time, certainly last night though, I remember thinking in the dream, well, it's just a dream. Not proper lucid dreaming. I wasn't controlling it or anything.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, well, it's just a dream, while it was actually happening, which is a bit messed up. But this week, I don't know about you, I'm starting to examine my life in a different way. I think for me, it's not just been about Fridays and Saturdays. It's just, a couple of drinks when I get home every night. And it fills a gap.
Yeah.
And that gap now is like exposed. And first couple of weeks I managed to fill it with cooking and gardening and chores and stuff. But now I seem to be sitting there thinking, ooh, should I have maybe been doing something more productive with these couple of hours when I get home? And the answer is definitely yes. Definitely yes. I'm excited to see how it goes on with this week, because I think that I'm having a drink on the 31st of midnight, May, I promise you. But weed, I kind of like to keep this going. I think this has been the unexpected side of it for me. Potentially life-changing. Yeah. Because I always said this and preached it to myself and never listened, that weed was always a good excuse to fill the times when you're bored. And we lament this about kids and parenting and stuff. Now, when you're bored, you shouldn't be just instantly entertained with it and get a dopamine rush from the easiest thing. You go and find shit to do. If you've got brothers, me and my brother used to build stuff in the shed, or build little roller coasters, or go finding frogs or fishing in the stream. And it's not what you would ever choose to do, but you were bored. You go and make stuff up and you do it. And going home and having a joint, more so than the alcohol, was a way of just thinking, getting yourself into a happy state without actually doing anything. So it's a space filler. It took us a while to realise that. So I'd really like to carry on with the weed sobriety as much as possible, but I am missing drinking mixed style. Just for phoning people. I never used to be a big drinker up until about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was a bit of a hermit before then. And then I found if I'd had a couple of drinks at home, I'd phone old uni mates or FaceTime my mum, or, I wasn't. When you smoked a joint, I was always embarrassed about getting on the phone, because you think, I'm sounding stoned, it's going to be really obvious. But when you've had a drink, you just sound like yourself a little bit happier. So, that's... I don't want to use it as a crutch, but I think it does play an important role in social.
No, definitely.
situations.
I've not been on my phone at all.
You've just been sniping people from rooftops.
Basically. But it's also, I'm always, I know I can socialize without it, definitely. But it is that also, you don't need alcohol to have fun, but you also don't need trainers to do a marathon, but it fucking helps.
Yeah.
And it is that thing. I don't want to. I've got mates in America that I normally phone over a weekend. Because of the time difference, it's just easier, because then I'll come and sit out there, and then have drinks with friends in South Africa or wherever, and then at like 12 o'clock at night, I normally phone them, because then it's like in the afternoon, the previous, no? So it's 8 hours difference, I think, 8 or 9 hours. So then it's the afternoon by them. So if I phone them on a Saturday night, like 12 o'clock, then it's Saturday afternoon by them. Then they normally have made a fire and having drinks or whatever.
Okay.
So then it's fun. I don't want to, number one, I'm not going to stay awake till fucking 1 o'clock in the morning, not drinking anything.
No.
To phone them. And then sit and watch how they have a drink. So it is that little bit of social lubricant.
Yeah.
It definitely, I also can't wait to have a whiskey.
If there was some way to sort of like microdose alcohol without, there certainly seems to be that first couple of drinks where everything's rosy, and as a British drinker, born and bred, that's never enough, and you think it's closed at 11, so we'll just keep on pushing on. And I think I've extended that habit to drinking at home, where you think, oh, I'm a bit pissed now, better go to bed. Which it shouldn't be like that. It should be bad enough.
My routine changed a lot during COVID. I think obviously Luke played a role in that, because I don't want to sit in the pub the whole night while Alison and Luke's at home. But it's not much different from me sitting here. But then I don't have to get in the car when I'm pissed and don't have to drive anywhere, blah, blah, blah. I'm just at home. Where, in any way, irrespective of Luke, through COVID, we did the whole having a drink over the phone, because you couldn't go and visit anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I got so used to it that now I don't really feel like going to a pub.
No, well, that social aspect's sort of been filled by being able to actually converse with people. I don't think it's the same as drinking on your own per se, if you are picking up the phone and having a conversation with people. But I suppose it's, in a way, it's a lot more safe, sensible, and cost-effective to do it that way.
Oh, definitely cost-effective, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, have you bought a pint in a pub recently? Well, obviously not this month, but...
No, I think the last...
You went out for a meal just in end of September, didn't you?
Yes, I think I paid about £5 or £6 for a pint.
Yeah. Well, 20, 30 quid just to feel a buzz is not sustainable.
No. I mean, and that's not... I can't... If I go out and I have whiskey in a pub, I'm not going to be spending anything less than £100.
Yeah.
Because it's probably almost £10 for a double and mix. So it's fucking expensive. Where if I have 2 drinks, I could basically buy a bottle of whiskey and drink it right there.
How does the measure system work in South Africa? Are you stuck to 25 or 50 ml measures?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same as here.
It's basically the same now.
Because I can't remember what I was listening to the other day, and they're talking about American bars where it's all free pour, isn't it? So you tip your barman for the first drink, and then your drink suddenly gets stronger and stronger as you go through the night. Just to have, what would get you drunk? 100 ml of vodka would get you drunk. So that's 4 drinks.
4 singles. That's not going to get you drunk, no.
Better get me drunk. Well, you'd say 6 then. So 6 drinks at £4 a pop. It's, it's 25 quid just to get. It's not. No. It's not sustainable.
I mean, there is. You're spending money on an event. It's not just because you're going out with mates or you're having dinner or whatever. So it is that thing of you're not just spending money on the thing. You're spending money on an event, on going out or whatever.
Yeah.
But just to put it money-wise, you can basically do the same at home for a fraction of the cost. Where you can listen to the same music, you can eat the same stuff, have the same drinks, talk to the same people.
Yeah.
Just not pay extravagant prices for it.
We used to do at university what we call preloading. So you go out at 11 when the club's open, but you'd have off-license booze before you went out.
Yeah.
Well, you're still drinking with friends. It's still a social event, and then a couple of drinks when you're out. You could go to York, pay for your taxi, your cigarettes, and your booze, and your takeaway for 25, 30 quid for the whole night. And that was only, I'm not that old, that was, 20 years ago max. Now, 25 quid would get you your taxi.
Yeah.
Probably drop you off 3/4 of the way because it's not quite enough. Inflation's a killer, man. But you are paying for the heating and the lighting and the social and the rates and all the rest of it. But yeah, we're talking about drinking just incessantly.
No, well, I mean, it is the theme of the thing. I find that I've been smoking a shitload less, just because I'm not sat in here 4 nights, 6 nights of the month, because then I normally will have 15 or 20 rollies. Now I basically have 2 cigarettes or 3 cigarettes, 4 cigarettes during the day while I'm at work. I did not smoke a single cigarette today before coming out here, because I normally don't. If I'm not at work and I don't drink when I'm at home, I don't smoke. So I've had I normally, what's at a 50-gram pack, I normally go through 2 of them in a month.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through less than 1 up until now.
I've been trying to recreate having a joint when I get home, so I'll smoke the living daylights out of that first one. I mean, the cherry's about 2 inches long. I'm definitely trying to substitute, and I'm definitely smoking more this month than I have been. But at least it's all through a filter.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, it's different for you because I can't smoke in my house.
Mm.
I probably would have smoked more if I smoked in my house.
If you were single, you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I definitely would have. Because now I don't feel like getting up and going outside to have a smoke. That's too much of a mission.
See, that was never a deterrent for me. I always sort of quite like the smoking corner in pubs. I quite like the fact you were going out and having to see what the weather was like during the day if you needed a fag. But now I just smoke out the kitchen window like a total hobo.
But because I spoke to, at the start of this month, I spoke to a few friends of mine saying, come on, join in. I said, fuck no.
Really?
And that was interesting because I spoke to, I've got 4 or 5 friends that I normally phone over a weekend, and told them, okay, me and you are doing this Sober October, come join in. They all said, no, why? There's no, fuck no, I'm not going to give up drinking. I've got a wedding coming up, or I can't drive without a beer, or whatever. And that was interesting for me, how people will easily go, sort of, you drink too much, or you don't need to drink, blah 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 blah, and then those same people, you go, okay, well, I'm going to quit for a month. Quit with me for a month. So, no, I'm not going to do that. Where I almost feel like it's easy to go, I don't drink that much, I don't have to quit. But then just do it for a month. No, I don't want to do that. Where I do think I said at the start of this, it's easy. I'm not sitting in front of the TV biting my nails and in a little stress ball about not having whiskey. I would like to have a whiskey, but it's not like I'm crying about it.
See, for me, I've been managing to keep myself occupied when I am home. Just think, there's loads of shit to do at home. So what can I do now? Prepare some dog stuff, or read, or cook, or do some housework. But when it gets to evening time, when there's nothing else to do, I am feeling a bit nail bitey. So I just got to sleep. I've never had trouble sleeping because I can sleep on a washing line and I sleep like a baby. But I'm finding home quite depressing at the minute. Once it's clean and it's tidy and there's nothing much to do, you think, well, you know where I am, I'm stuck out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's sort of illuminating some choices that I made a while ago that were maybe wrong ones, and I'm having to re-examine my whole life, and that's quite a depressing thing to go through, really. I find, home quite depressing. I think being out there on my own is fine when I'm drinking, because you can have a couple of drinks and Skype someone. When you're not, it's
Yeah, there is a gap there that you have to now fill.
Yeah.
But how's it gone with the training, with the kettlebells? Because I'm fucking far behind. I've done 9, I think, in total. 9 or 10. Where am I? But it's also because we've been sick so much. I've skipped a shitload of days just because I can't fucking lift my arm, never mind lift a 16-kilogram kettlebell. I've done 9 in total, so I've missed more than half of them.
I haven't been keeping count, but I think it would be about the same. I missed the first couple of days, and then I started off in earnest with the 16 kg, and then I phoned you, I think, after about 8 or 9 days and said, can I use a smaller one, please? I stopped for 4 or 5 days, started again a couple of days ago, and there is a big difference in how well I sleep and also how well I feel if I do it. I know that's an old cliche, but you do feel.
No, definitely.
You get some endorphins from it, let's face it. But just fitting it in, I get home usually about 9:30, 10 o'clock, because I've been working a lot of evenings. And even if I don't, if I work a normal 9 to 5, I'll go and walk the dog while there's a little bit of daylight. So I'm usually getting home when it's late. And you just say, I can't. First 5 or 6 days I was doing it quite successfully in the evening, then stopped for a little while. And then I found the only way that I can do it is if I do it in the morning, which it's harder to motivate yourself. But what I found is it's really good. It's really good for sort of getting your body moving.
Yeah.
Digestive. I always need a shit after doing it. I don't know about you, but you just got to get all your juices flowing. It's just it's been the hardest part of it, I'd say, is sticking to that kettlebell routine. And I'm lying. I say I've done less than you. I won't have done 9, if I'm honest. Are we? Is the bet dependent on doing 30?
No. The main thing was always just not drink, yeah. And that's why I told you at the start, doing this, sort of setting it up to do it 30 times or 30, whatever, the whole month, once a day.
You did say that.
Is going to be difficult because we go from not doing it to doing it every day. It's tough in itself because that 16 kilogram is a killer. I must say, I've gotten used to it. I do feel like that, but I don't want to say stronger, but it's the
right word.
It's this I've never in my life used a kettlebell, so it's definitely if I just take a look at the calories that I've burnt from doing the first 20 minutes to doing the 9th 20 minutes, it's interesting because I'm able to do a lot more. So I'm burning about between 20 to 30 extra calories now in the same amount of time.
Okay.
With the last ones, because I can just do more reps in those 20 minutes. Because I was the first 3 times I was winded as fuck. I couldn't when I was done I couldn't lift my arms. And it's interesting that in just 9 20-minute sessions it's become, I'm not going to say easy, but a lot easier than it was in the start. I'd like to continue with it, I must say.
Well, that kettlebell's yours. You can continue with it. But it sounds to me like you need to be going up to 24 kg.
I'll stick with the 16 for now. I've been doing sort of all the beginner moves or beginner, whatever you call them. Sort of like real simple stuff. And I've found this guy on Instagram. I can't remember what his name is now, but he sort of does daily routines that you have to do. But fucking hell, that's like because I've been doing sort of mainly static stuff, one movement type stuff, where they do those where you swing it and then you step and then you swing it and you do that. I tried it once and I almost went through the wall. And it's after sort of like just sitting down and thinking, it's like, I think I'd go out on a limb and say like 80% of kettlebell training is core. It almost all works on your core. Obviously, a lot of it's on your shoulders and your arms and stuff like that, but most of it's on your core. My core's shit. And obviously that alters your balance.
Yeah.
So because my core's shit, my balance is shit, and I can't fucking do those things because if I go here, my whole body just fucks over. And that also has gotten a bit better.
The swings seem to be the easiest thing to do. The goblet squats are certainly the one that gets me the most the day after.
Yeah, my legs are also shit. I can't do. I do 50 squats and then I can't get out of bed the next morning.
Yeah, the pain I feel from the goblet squats, I think they've got to be the best form of exercise because it's legs. You're keeping your back straight, so it's all your core muscles as well, and to a certain extent your arms, because they're in an unnatural position. The goblet squats and swings are basically what I'm doing now. The 12 kg one is a little bit easier for doing clean and press, and I'll do a few rows, hold them out. I didn't manage to get one single hold out with the 16 kg.
I didn't know, but it's heavy.
Yeah,
because Luke weighs 16 kgs. I mean, that's a person's weight.
I think you're only allowed to lift 15 kgs without equipment on health and safety law, aren't you? That's why they're 15 kg bags for the milk powder, and they're 25. Aren't they?
Yeah,
scratch that. It might be 25 kg, but there is a limit to what you're supposed to be able to lift in your day-to-day work. But we have pretty strenuous job.
Yeah.
Daily it varies, but on average, I'd say we burn a lot more calories than the average.
I do close to, if I'm not milking, then I think about 22,000 steps a day.
Okay.
And I burn through between 1,800 and 2,000 calories. But that's now, if I wear my watch, that'll be different. That's just on walking with my phone in my pocket.
Are you still losing weight?
Well, that week that I was on leave, I picked up about 6 kgs. And I've lost another 3 of those. So I'm almost down to what I was before we took leave. So I'm on 93 now, I think.
Good man.
I'm happy with it. Yeah, it's that, and that was done with nothing. I mean, it's not. I don't see it really as impressive. It's just I was fucking overweight. I was heavily overweight, and I just worked a lot.
Has your weight fluctuated throughout your life? Were you the heaviest you'd been when you started here?
This was the heaviest that I've ever been. I think when I finished college, I was heavy, but that was just from drinking shitloads of beer. I was, I think, just over 110. I was probably between 110 and 115.
Mm-hmm.
But then started working and lost that very quickly. And then kind of kept it somewhere between 90 and 100 always. And then when I left farming, when I started in sales, that was a bit of a problem because now you don't physically work. And I'm in a car the whole day. So I drive 400 kilometers a day. I go to a farmer's meeting where we drink a shitload of brandy, eat a steak and a potato and chips or whatever. And then I'll have a full house breakfast the next morning at the bed and breakfast. And then I'm on the road again. And then I stop at a KFC or a McDonald's for lunch. And so then I very quickly picked up weight. The 10 days that we were in quarantine here didn't help at all because it's heavy starchy food that they gave us and you can't go out your room for 10 days. So when I started here, I was probably about 120, which is big. And yeah, I lost that. I lost 30 kgs in 10 months probably. And that's just, like I said, I wasn't training. I wasn't eating differently. I wasn't drinking less. It was just actually working during the day. It was just doing stuff.
It's the best kind of exercise. I remember listening to that. There's a really twee singer that's now a radio DJ called Charlotte Church. And I don't know why this stuck in my head, but she was a big girl for all the time that she was becoming famous. And now she's a skinny wee lass. And she'd been on some radio interview and they asked what she was doing. She says, I just do stuff. I'll walk to the shops. I think she'd had a baby, so lifestyle had changed. But rather than think I'll get a taxi or I can walk this, I can do this. We benefit massively in this job from just having to do it for part of our job. You take it for granted, but for me, that's worth a gym membership or anything. Just being able to work it into your normal day, and rather than having to go and do fucking kettlebell exercises when you get home.
Yeah, well, if you take, like I said, I think on an average, I do between 18 and 22,000 steps. So that's like 15 kilometers every day.
Is it?
If you were to just walk 15 kilometers a day without doing anything else, I mean, that burns through quite a few calories. Yeah, that's it. But I must say, I'd like to continue with the kettlebells. It's nice, and I've caught myself a few times. I don't want to do this, and then I can just fucking do it. And then 20 minutes goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
And when I'm done, I'm thinking like, what? I can just do this. I don't have to bitch and moan about it. I can just do it, and then it's done, and then I feel better. And then tomorrow comes, and I look at that kettlebell. I don't want to do it. So it's been an interesting 22 days.
I suppose you have to work into your life like you do brushing your teeth or having a shower. Just make it a habit.
I think I told Alison the other day, because I'm not on a strict schedule in terms of work, where it's not I don't get up at 7 o'clock every day, and I don't come home at 5 o'clock every day. So that makes it difficult because I don't have that routine. It's difficult to fit in a 20-minute exercise routine, because now I'm having to find space for it. It's not, okay, I come home and I do it. Because some days, some days I come home at 2. Some days I come home at 4. Some days I come home at 8.
Yeah.
And then it's easy to do it when I come home at 2 or at 4 o'clock. But when I come home at 8 and I just finished work, then I don't feel like doing it. Then it's a bit of a having to put my big boy pants on and doing it. So that, I think, if you're in a bit of a better routine than what I currently am, I think it would be a shitload easier to just fit in 20 minutes somewhere.
Are you listening to anything or watching anything while you're doing it, or are you just sitting in a silent room and
Big Bang Theory? I go through because I can't. It's difficult with Luke. You can't just sit and watch something. So I've, for the last 2 years, I've gone through. I decided to watch stuff that I actually want to watch, or that I've wanted to watch. So I started, I think, with Lost.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because I remember when Lost came out 75 years ago.
That was one of the first big, like, everyone had to watch streaming services, wasn't it?
And I watched a few episodes, but then sort of got lost on it, and excuse the pun. So I decided, fuck it, I want to watch it. So it started with just like putting Luke to sleep in the stroller, what do you call it, in the pram.
Yeah.
So I'll just put my phone, I'll watch it on my phone, put my phone there and just stand or just walk around, whatever. And then I watched my shows in like 10-minute increments.
Yeah.
And then finished that. Can't remember what I watched that Terminalist, that thing from Chris Pratt. Bloody good. And then I thought, fuck it, I didn't want to look for something else to watch. Big Bang Theory was just there, so I watched it again from the start. And I'm 12 seasons in, 11 seasons in now. And it's nice because the episodes are, I think, 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
So if I put one on, then I know, okay, well, and it also takes your mind off it a bit. I do the same when I jog on the treadmill as well. I'll just put that on and just go for it and not look at the screen of the treadmill, because that's one thing that I don't like about running on a treadmill is I'm watching the figures the whole time. So I'm running, I've only done 500 meters, and then I almost feel more tired. Where if I put the TV sort of over here, and I'm not running, I'm running looking here, then 3 kilometers goes by where it's like, fuck, okay, well, I'm 3 kilometers down the line, 2 more left, and then I'm done. So it goes, I think it is a bit of cheat sort of thing to do.
It's distraction tactics, just like we were talking about with not drinking. You just find something else to do. Oh, don't think about it, carry on. I think that's a good, well, it's not maybe you should be sat there like Jocko Willink saying, I'm going to be a powerhouse, I am.
But David,
I'm doing it, but I don't think most people operate like that.
David Goggins, you know who that is.
Yeah.
He says it's cheating. You shouldn't. You shouldn't
sit there and wallow in the pain. Sure.
You shouldn't listen to music while running. He did that. There's I saw a clip of him the other day. He did a pull-up challenge where he did I want to say 11,000 pull-ups. It's something stupid like that. Where he did a few thousand pull-ups in, I think it was 37 hours or something. He listened to the same song for 27 hours. I can't remember. Go look for it. He listened to the same song from Rocky.
Eye of the Tiger.
For 27 hours straight. Just that one song while he did all of the pull-ups.
I mean, he's not mentally sound, is he? There's clearly something wrong there. I'm glad he's directed it in a productive direction. Yeah. He's not a normal human being.
Fuck no. He did. What did he do? He did 10 ultra marathons in 10 days. Over, I think he did it on weekends. So it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Over 5 weeks. He did 100 miles a day, 10 times. That guy's just on a different level. Yeah. Stay hard, motherfucker. Fucking interesting guy there. Listen, just to talk about something else, it's bloody interesting, is this Liz Truss? Liz Truss?
Liz Truss, yeah.
That's very interesting. And we've had this chat. I know nothing about politics in any country, not even South Africa. But I did find this one was very interesting because we went through this whole Boris escapade, and then Liz came in, which is very interesting. I saw a few of her YouTube videos where she spoke shit about the Queen and then met the Queen and then all of this. But
there's a famous one of her where she was talking to some conference about exports, British exports, and really made an impassioned speech about British farmers, and it just sounded so contrived and like a sixth form level speech where she was impassioned but really had no knowledge. She was a bit of a surprise to me that she came in. Boris was so popular and then suddenly he wasn't, and now they're talking about him coming back. It's bizarre.
That's very interesting.
Surprised if it comes through, but I think it's a bit of buyer's remorse on their party side. They didn't really think it through. So she's the shortest lived Prime Minister.
6 weeks.
In 300 years of British Prime Ministers.
What baffles me is just because she was the Prime Minister, she now gets a lifelong salary of £115,000 a year.
Yeah, I think that is probably right because she's, unlike in America, they don't get a security detail for the rest of their life. They've got to pay for their own security. And obviously now her public profile has been raised to the point where she's in danger. We had 2 politicians in the last 5 years get shot. One got shot, one got stabbed. Might have both got stabbed. Go look it up. But one Labour, one Conservative, just from crazies in the constituency, because on weekends usually what the good ones do is go back home and have what they call a surgery. So they'll meet their constituents and take in any questions and listen to any grievances or policy ideas. So they're coming face to face, just like me and you are sat now here with the general public, and the general public contains a few nut jobs.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily disagree with that. She wanted the job. She had an idea of how to do it. She got stuck in. It just turns out that everybody disagreed with her. To be fair, she didn't want to leave. She got ousted out. I think it's a bit sensationalist when they put it like that. 120 or 115 grand a year is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money
by anybody's standards. But if you've got to pay for a security guard.
Yeah, no, when you put it like that, it makes sense.
Yeah, and she's, in my mind, she's perfectly entitled to take it, and I wouldn't begrudge her if she did. I think she has said that she wouldn't do, because she still wants a career in politics, so she needs to look at the optics and stuff like that. But it's a very strange situation to be in, where the Conservative Party are floundering when they've got such a big majority. Boris has a 80-seat majority. They can get stuff done. It's bizarre to me that they don't seem to want to get stuff done. I think Brexit was the whole focus and the reason that Boris became Prime Minister. And then when Brexit happened, everyone was like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Didn't seem to be any further thinking. But like I said to you on the phone the other day, they seem to be reacting to what the press say, like the press are their constituents. And they're not. I know we live in a media age now where things go viral and things can be taken out of context and people can be cancelled and all that sort of stuff. But it's a bit short-sighted to react so quickly as they have done to stuff. U-turns used to be, from what I can gather, such a rare event. If a policy was made, they've gone through the think tanks, they've checked it with their parliamentary colleagues, it's gone through cabinet, everybody's decided. It goes out to the world in a press release. The media jump all over it and have their opinions, and then 24 hours later they've reversed it again. That didn't seem to happen in the past.
There's too many people. I think I think, and once again, me knowing absolute fuck all about politics, I just feel like there's too many people involved. And you can't, there's no way I won't be able to do that job.
No.
And I don't think anyone can do that job. To be honest, I think there's just too many people to keep happy.
Mm.
How many people are in the UK?
65 million.
There's too many people.
Yeah.
Split it up. Let Yorkshire rule over Yorkshire.
People have talked about that seriously.
And do it that way.
Yeah.
Because there's too many people outside of that. Because if you live in a town of 100 people, then it's easy to go, okay, well, 30 of the people don't necessarily, they're not behind the decisions that you make, but okay, we're 100 people, all 100 voted, 70 are with you. So the 30 need to just go with it and make it work. But if you put that into 60 million, then there's too many million people that are not happy with how it's run. But if you put it into Yorkshire, then it's a bit easier to work through.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's a slippery slope there with how much do you divide it up? How much do you chop it up? Do you have individual families deciding on what's good for them, or do you leave it at a county level or a national level? The parliamentary democracy is supposed to function in that we elect people to go into government and they get the facts, because me and you don't have the facts, and we might watch YouTube videos on certain subjects and form opinions, but we don't have the facts, and we're not getting updates from the people that really know stuff. The one thing that I think finished Liz Truss off was markets. So she released her economic plan and the markets crashed. It's a free market economy, so there's no fingers on the balance, so to speak. And when it all goes haywire like that, that should be a reason to U-turn, because the markets are saying, no, we don't like this. It surprises me that she didn't sound it out beforehand with the markets, or, there's no way to sort of test that policy. But from what I can gather, the other fella that was running, Rishi Sunak, he had predicted this. Maybe he was better informed in his cabinet positions than she was. But that the way it functions is we delegate to that person to read the dossiers and listen to the experts, and we elect them based on that we think they're a clever and sound-minded, reasonable person. We can't have everybody making decisions as a group, because the wisdom of crowds goes both ways. It's reactionary, and things get snowballed into bigger issues.
You see,
you could almost end up down a route where you've got, like in Scandinavia, which are countries that are a lot less populated than we are, where you get a lot more direct democracy, so they'll have a lot of referendums. Referendums in this country are, I can only remember 2 or 3 in my lifetime. There was one on the alternative vote, there was Brexit. When they actually say, right, we're going to put it down to the people, it's quite a rare event, because it's such a hard thing to logistically manage, to get everybody's votes in and count them. And it's not binding anyway. I'd like to be able to think we could stick with the system that we've got, where you pick rational, reasonable people that will listen to the facts and form the opinions for you. Yeah, you can always oust them at the next parliament. 5-year parliaments that maybe don't give you the time to react to something's really bad, but it should be the markets and the think tanks and the people in business, in charities, in the Foreign Office, that make those reactions to policy decisions. Because when you put it to the media, what the media kind of do, they kind of sell papers.
Yeah.
And the most sensational stuff is, this thing about Liz's wage. That's always happened. There's there's civil servants that are paid a lot more than she is. We don't fuss about that because the press haven't decided to make a thing of it.
Haven't touched it yet, yeah.
So what they feed us is quite poisonous, really. And I wish we could go back to a stage where I don't know what I'm really saying here, because it sounds perverse when I'm even thinking it, but where the media are almost complicit in government, where they'll be another wing of it, rather than, look what he's just said. What do you think about this, guys? Say, well, why have you said that? Okay, well, it's not going to go down very well, but, we'll put it in a way that people can understand. Like, I think they did a pretty good job with Brexit, and because it went on for so long, all the arguments got spoken about and raised, and everybody had time to digest it and mull it over. And because nobody knew which way it'd go, everyone was thinking, well, actually, that's quite interesting what you said there. And, yeah, it could go this way, it could go that way. You don't get to do that on every decision. They're putting through bills, sometimes 2 or 3 a day, on little stuff that we don't even consider. We'd have time to think about all that.
There's the media is a difficult one, because you can't tie it to the government, because you need to keep that sense of free speech in there. And if you tie it to anything, then it changes. Where you want to keep it out of government, but you need it governed. You need it, in a sense, you need it governed, but you can't have the government involved, because then you'll only get one line of business, basically.
Yeah.
On the other side, if it's not governed, it's you get sort of the clickbait stuff. You get the stuff that sells the paper. So it is a difficult thing, and
I do like.
I feel like we've got two. We always thought, like, when the internet came about, it's a fucking cliched saying, we always thought that the lack of information was the problem. But now we've got so much information that you don't know what to go for. We had a chat this week quickly with a friend of mine about flat Earth, and it's so easy if you just rely on YouTube videos, it's so easy to go either way. Because if you Google something, you're going to get answers for that thing. If you Google flat Earth, you're going to get YouTube videos that show you that the Earth is flat. If you Google the Earth is a globe, you're going to get YouTube videos that show you that the Earth is a globe. But how do you go about that? There's just too much stuff, and it's the same with everything around COVID. It's the same with everything around fucking normal inoculations. There's just too much information.
It's a bad example, is flat Earth, because it's such a ridiculous one. We know when we can prove just on a commercial flight or climbing a mountain that there's very few arguments on the flat Earth side. But it goes back to how do you disseminate that information to everybody that's going on and things that are not obvious. The example I have in my head was BBC News. So when I was growing up, and historically BBC News was almost state media, there was other media outlets. There was a strong written press, so the Times and the Telegraph and the Guardian and everyone were all on different sides of it. But generally speaking, people got the news from the same source. You can argue whether that source was always been reliable. I imagine it was probably more so than it is now because of reacting to clickbait stuff. But I'm trying to be careful what I say, because I don't think we should end up with a Chinese or Russian style state media. But I do think it's important that we're all reading the same stuff at certain points, because you'd go into the office or come into work the following day and you would talk about the points that had been raised, and you'd have those really interesting and useful conversations with your colleagues. Why is that right? Why is that wrong? You'd always have the guy that says it's all a conspiracy, politicians are all corrupt and this, that and the other. But he'd be heard, and maybe eyes roll and bits and bobs, or people would try and counter him with arguments of their own. But it wasn't people going off to their own media outlets to listen to what they wanted to hear. And because that BBC News doesn't seem to be the main source anymore, and everybody's not watching the same thing of an evening, everybody's going off into their own YouTube channels and watching what they want to. I think we lose connection as a community.
Because you're just listening to what you want to hear.
Yeah, and you're only talking to people that agree with you. And
what do they call it? Echo chamber.
And that's how you end up with extremist views and cults and all the rest of it, where people get that snowball effect to where they think they're right and they're going to pursue it regardless, and then everybody else is a cunt because they don't agree with them. Whereas that I know it's cliche, but that water cooler chat, even if you take it out of news, if you're watching the same sitcoms or comedy programs of an evening, it builds that sense of community, and that you've all been watching the same show.
Yeah.
You know, when you leave a concert and you leave the cinema and you're talking with Alison about, I loved that. That was amazing. And Alison goes, that was rubbish. What? How is that so? And you'd have a conversation about it. Everybody's watching their own things now, and there's nothing to talk about because everybody's formed their own opinions on stuff, which just seems a bit sad. The thing I'll say though quickly is we need a stable government, for not for the sake of it, but for our country and the position that it's in. We're Brexited now, and we're on our own, and COVID's taken a massive toll. We seem to be suffering more than other developed countries in terms of currency and finance. Other people looking in make opinions based on how stable we are, and it was quite stable for a while, and now it looks like it's completely swung the other way. They voted Boris in. He had a big majority. He's got another couple of years in his term, or the party has, sorry. He was the leader of the party at the time, but he's not anymore. They put the rules for the 5-year parliaments in place for that reason, so we could have stability and decisions could be not just made, but acted out and brought through. So by the time it came to the next election, people could have a bit of perspective on what was done and how well it's worked. And you kick them out or you keep them in. Now with this reactionary stuff, it's just they need to step back and stick to the decisions and say, maybe not in that case, because it probably would have crashed the markets, but who knows? Might have been a turbulent few months, and then the markets readjust. And I mean, I can't believe everybody said she's made the wrong decision when all she was talking about was cutting people's taxes. The fuel allowance that she's given everybody, or the decision was made to help people with their fuel bills, was absolutely the right decision. Was it costed out? Was it affordable? We afforded COVID for a couple of years, paying people to stay at home and stuff. I'm sure giving 65 quid a month to people for their energy bills was affordable. I was so interested in politics up until the last couple of years, where it just seems to be, I'm slow to bring the information in and digest it and stuff, and then suddenly it's all changed again. And by the time I have an opinion,
the shuffles are so quickly. I mean, this one took 6 weeks. Me not, as I say again, me not knowing anything about the local politics in any way. It's just interesting to watch. I'm on a few groups on Facebook of South Africans in the UK and South Africans in Yorkshire and stuff like that, people that have immigrated. And it's interesting to see the comments on there as coming from sort of like a volatile government situation in South Africa, thinking that it's going to be stable here. And everyone's got problems.
Yeah.
But I do think what you're saying makes sense, that we have to see, we have to sort of focus on ourselves now. There's too many people. I'm coming back to this. There's too many people here to worry about. Stop worrying about people over the water and sort out your own house's shit.
Yeah.
I had a laugh today. I saw a thing on Facebook where, who's the guy from Virgin?
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson was apparently in conversation with Cyril Ramaphosa, because he's still on the fence apparently about the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. And he was sort of urging him to make a stand and to tell Putin to fuck off or whatever. I'm thinking, like, is there not enough shit going on in South Africa at this point? Don't let the oak worry about other. Obviously, there's implications for South Africa. I'm not putting that aside, but sort of just keep your own fucking house tidy and then worry about your neighbour.
Yeah, I think I agree with that completely. The problem is when you've had situations like the 40s where foreign policy suddenly turned into home policy, where there's planes coming and boats coming potentially to land and invade.
Yeah.
You can't leave it on the washing line and just hope that it's going to stay dry. But I absolutely agree. You sort your house out first, because nobody's going to respect your opinion if you haven't got your shit together.
Yeah.
For a start. It goes back to what we were saying in the previous one, with we go too far with our foreign policy, with thinking that we're a world player and that we have to help and police other countries. To a certain extent you do. You have to be involved. You have to have a strong ambassadorial service and know what's going on in other countries. But going and trying to, like they did in Iraq, impose our great system on other people when it doesn't fit their culture is just ridiculous and costs lives and money and far too much. And Putin, if we're going to talk about that, I've had my not complete 180 on it, but I've been enlightened a little bit listening to a few podcasts recently, especially with the guy from Pink Floyd on Joe Rogan's podcast. If what's they say is true, and there was negotiations to be had beforehand, and the thing that keeps sticking in the back of my mind is the regions that they've annexed and had these referendums in do genuinely seem to be culturally Russian.
Yeah, they're on that side.
The Russian speakers. It's flashed up a few times on Reddit and stuff. When they had the referendum for independence in the 90s, showed by region which regions had voted for, and in the west, around Kiev and what have you, was 95, 98% for independence. In Crimea, it was 50, 52, 53%. Donetsk and Luhansk were the same, 60, 65%. Think, well, actually, is this not the same as what's going on in Palestine or what happened in the Middle East after the war? Is people drawing lines on maps for their own strategic ideas rather than what the actual people on the ground want? And I remember watching something about the Falkland War fairly recently. There was an interview with an Argentinian sailor who said when he listened to the news at home, and the Falkland Islands was always seen as Argentinian, it's off our coast and we're going to go collect it back for our people. It made complete sense to him. And then when he got there and he landed and everybody's British and they're drinking tea and eating crumpets and speaking English, he suddenly felt like the foreigner, like he shouldn't be there. Well, there's a little bit of that going on in this situation. I think the media tries to show it as Putin wanting Ukraine, and I think he probably does in a way. He's certainly acting like he does, striking the capital and what have you. But if the negotiations were along the lines of, actually, can we have these Russian bits back because we'll look after them better than you because they feel a bit alienated by the government that you've got, maybe you do draw that border. It's the same with them.
But there is that thing of how much do you give them? And is it? I always think of this in a sense of who's giving, and who's. It's always a difficult line for me in terms of giving and taking. In terms of that, where you go, okay, no, we'll give it to Putin. It's like who are we?
Yeah.
How do you go? Okay, we'll do. Yeah. But yeah, it does make sense that if the eastern side of Ukraine wants to go and form part of Russia, whatever, let them do it. But on the other end, there is, okay, if he takes the eastern half of Ukraine, what's said to stop him from taking the whole of Ukraine? And
I think it always comes down to West and East, doesn't it? It comes down to the old Soviet bloc versus the Western democracies. And like bad parents, instead of when the kids are squabbling, finding common ground and settling the arguments and maybe making people compromise a little bit, they're getting fully behind one kid or the other. And that's poisonous. And it always seems to come back to basically USA versus Russia. And like we've said a million times on the podcast in the last few weeks, that's fucking dangerous stuff if you put them two against each other, because if mum and dad start fighting, we're all fucked.
Because there is no winning outcome. There's only a lose or lose very bad outcome. And in a sense of, if you take a look at it from Putin's side, you can't really win. But in terms of losing, he can make damn well sure that everyone else is going to lose if he loses. And I think that's the biggest problem. And I know there was a threat a while back where they've got that nuclear submarine that they were apparently planning to bomb the North Sea with, to sort of just put a bit of water over the whole of the fucking UK if we don't shut our mouths. And well, we'll be the first ones to go. We smacked there, right?
Yeah, we'll see the wave coming.
And
underwater cables.
That thing is actually, it's been set off now. So I don't know if set off. I mean, it's left the dock. That submarine is somewhere in the ocean now.
There does seem to be some serious espionage going on though, because undersea cables seem to be cut at an alarming rate recently. See, the Shetland Islands didn't have any telephone or internet. I don't know if they're back on now. One cable runs from the north of Scotland up to Shetland, and it was severed spuriously. The oil pipeline running through the Baltic Sea, was it Nord Stream 2? They never brought 2 online, did they? But Nord Stream 1 suddenly down, massive gas leak. If you've seen the videos, gas pouring out of the ocean. All that sort of stuff is, it's got to be related to this war in the Ukraine.
Interesting timing, yeah. Yeah, it's.
I don't think anybody will use serious weapons. I don't think it.
I fucking hope not. I saw an interesting thing today that said that the nuclear weapons in America can basically, if the president says launch, then they launch.
Yeah.
Apparently, Russia's set up differently.
Yeah.
Where each nuclear missile is run by a specific person. And if Putin says launch, that guy can decide if he wants to launch or not, or something like that. Yeah. And if Intel picks up that these guys are not all on board with Putin's plans, then it leaves the door open for a bit of tomfoolery to at least eliminate like 60%, not eliminate, but just to sort of get these oaks into the, call it NATO way of thinking about it.
Yeah. From what I understand, the doctrines are a little bit different in that America basically has the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. So we won't send anything unless it's coming our way. Where Russia doesn't use the same playbook. They'll say, we'll use nuclear weapons if we want to use nuclear weapons. And they've always stuck by that. It's all posturing. It's all... From what they say, we've got enough nuclear weapons to wipe the planet out. I can't disagree or agree
more than once, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of had Thanos type thoughts at times, like we've just discussed, with too many people. We can't just get rid of the people without fucking the planet.
Yeah.
Meantime, so the ones that are left are fucked anyway.
I don't think there's too many people in the sense of too many people.
Too many people.
It's apparently not.
There's Elon Musk.
There's apparently not enough people, but in terms of governing, I think there's too many people to govern as a whole country.
I think if we're going to get off the planet and do all the things that Elon wants and become one with the machines and explore space, then there's not enough people. We need a lot of people to organise and build that stuff. But if we want to plod along like we have for the last 12,000 years and remain human and living on a nice planet, then there's probably, I think we're too far past it now to go back. But you do wonder what would happen if there was a catastrophic event and the planet, say a volcanic eruption or an earthquake or a tsunami or something that have happened forever, continue, or all forecast to happen again.
No, we're overdue.
And maybe we're just living through a little time before, like the fall of Rome, where something else will come and take the decision out of our hands. And sadistically, I kind of think, yeah, that'd be cool. I don't want to be on the surviving team either. I just think it'd be...
It's interesting because I spent this last few days thinking. I think if you in your shoes, where you've got Yogi to worry about. I immediately thought when there was talk about nuclear fucking weapons going off, what do I do? Alison is in Hull. Luke's at school in Berstbeck. I'm here. Something goes off and I'm still alive. Now, if it's a nuclear thing, then you have to fucking get indoors behind thick walls very quickly, take off your clothes, fucking blah, 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 so that you don't die of radiation within 15 minutes. And then stay there for I think they say 48 hours or something. And then, but no, I can't do that. Because I'm a man, I have to go save my wife and my kid. But I can't run around outside. I'll make it to the tar road up top and then die.
I'll be rolling a bag and stood outside watching the mushroom cloud. waiting for the time.
Yeah, I don't think there's much that we can do. I think that's why, honestly, I don't really care much about watching news and following all of these trends, because it doesn't really affect me. And if it does affect me, I can't do anything real about it. So
you don't need the whole planet working through the same problems.
No.
Like we said before, you elect people to look at certain things and deal with certain things, but surely the best thing we can do is make good decisions for the people around us. And that surely humanity has been built on just that. We make good decisions for the people around us, and then suddenly stuff happens and gets built because we're not warring it with each other, and we've got enough to occupy ourselves to keep stimulated, but not too much that it seems all overwhelming. And mass media now, and the fact that we've all got access to it so readily, is fucking everybody's heads up with having to think about big things where we shouldn't. We should be thinking about the little things that go on around us and making the world a better place that way.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
Because we haven't got one mega mind yet, you know, we're not melded into one single entity. And what we tend to do as primates when we get in big gangs is just fight, war, thin out the herd that way, dominate, and all the rest of it. If we do things in small groups, when it's just 15 or 16 of us in the woods together, we tend to make better decisions.
Yeah, but it's also easier decisions. It's because it's on a smaller scale.
Yeah, it's manageable.
It's manageable, and that comes back to we're trying to govern too many people at once. If you, like I said, I mean, if you make a decision that impacts 100 people, it's easier to get round stuff, and it's easier to get. If there's 30 people that are not 100% on board, it's easier to work with those 30 people.
Yeah.
Than it is to work with 30 million people that are not on board.
There's two sort of laws of nature, or laws of humanity that seem to stick true that I think balance each other out. Is that you've only got so much room for social contact in your life. They say, well, there's a name for it, but 150 people in your immediate circle are the people that you can be genuinely in touch with, informed on, and, you know, collaborate with. But you're also only 6 degrees of separation from everybody on the planet. You're only 6 handshakes away from Putin or anybody on the planet. So if you look after your tribe and all your tribes overlap, that's why it works. Because you're forming decisions of this 7 billion people, but you're doing it in little chunks. And when we're all watching the news and deciding on the big issues together, and there's millions of us rattling in on stuff, it seems to lose that natural balance, I think.
Interesting times, John.
Interesting times.
Yeah, just imagine. I spoke to Costin the other day. It's one of the people that don't know Costin is one of the chaps that work on the farm. He was a Romanian. We had a quick chat about the Ukrainian situation where they might get called up out of Romania. He's never fired a rifle in his life. He's got no official or unofficial training in terms of survival or anything like that. Now to take, he's 25, 26 years old, take a chap like that and go, okay, here's automatic rifle, go fight for your country. So, how the hell are they going to do that?
No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because people, then they know. We've got history books now. Then nationalism and patriotism isn't as closeted as it was. We don't all go to church and listen to the doctrines there. I think getting us lot to be effective fighters would be like herding cats, to be honest with you.
It'll be interesting. Because I mean, I know my way around a rifle, and I can make fire. I tend to believe that I'll survive, but also I've never pointed a rifle at someone. I've never shot someone. I've shot stuff. I've shot animals, and but I've never killed something with, for lack of a better word, I've never killed a sentient thing.
Yeah.
That can tell me to fuck off if I miss.
Yeah.
But
I was listening to a podcast today about the Trafalgar, and so beginning of the 1800s, wooden warships with 3 decks of cannons on it, and it's a very patriotic thing in this country. We have the Trafalgar Square and Nelson's Column, and it's always seemed like with Waterloo as one of the defining British victories at war. They were talking about the lads on the boat, 6 to a gun or however many, and powder lads down, all the gunpowder's kept below the waterline, and there's lads as young as 10 bringing it up to the guns so they don't have too much on deck. And the reason they said it was a British victory was because they were so well trained on handling those guns, and the tacticians at the top that were steering the ship had been in battle before. And when they were asking the boys to go in and they were seeing the ships on the horizon and we're going in now, you always imagine that it's fire from a distance and everything's going on. There was a 2 mile an hour wind. The boats are coming in each other at walking pace. What were going through those boys' minds when they were getting there? They knew that most of them, or a big chunk of them, were going to die, and they weren't deserting. Well, they had nowhere to go because they're on a boat, but I don't think you could get people to think that blindly now. I don't think you could organise enough people to do that. Maybe wrong. Maybe people just want a cause to get behind. And I've heard certainly people saying that we need a good war and it'll give people backbone and realise what life's really all about and stuff. Maybe there's something in that. But are we really that uninvolved that we have to do it again and again and again and not just read a history book to figure out how it happened?
Yeah, well, it is the main thing of just don't be a cunt. But I mean, this pulls back to if your government controls the media, I think it's very easy to pull people towards the side.
Yeah.
If you're only giving out one sort of one message.
Yeah. I think religion does the same thing as well.
Then it's very easy.
Yeah.
But now with Facebook and YouTube and all of this and that and different news outlets, you can sort of see both sides and you can get the information from both sides. Yeah, it's whatever. Jim, let's hope that in 8 days' time we're still here to enjoy a drink. That the world's not in fucking toil and peril and flames and bombs and whatnot.
Hope so, yeah. But it's hard to feel optimistic without a beer, to be honest with you.
Well, let's see. We've got, how many days has this month got?
31.
31. Okay, so we've got 10 days left, 9 days left, and then we can have a drink and hopefully carry on with the discussion.
Less coherently, but more enjoyably.
Less coherently. So, Jim, this non-alcoholic beer has been nice.
Yeah. It does give you, like when you taste one of them little stubbies when you're a kid and you think you're drunk. Like little pseudo buzz off it. It's maybe the Red Bull.
That's nice. Anyway, Jim, thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy.
Still doing it. 22 days in.
Yeah.
9 days left.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Yeah. I need to do some kettlebells. I'm really guilty now.
Well, let's get on to those kettlebells. Thanks for coming through, bud.
Yeah, good to see you,
We'll do another one soon. All right.